Welcome in, everybody. It's another episode of Between the Ears. It is how WVU beats Houston, and I've got Chris with me today to break this thing down. I've already kind of given my thoughts on this one with Eugene on the Walkthrough Game Day show. If you haven't caught that yet, it's up on YouTube. It's on our site at Mountaineers Now. We break down the whole game, talk about Dana, pretty much everything you need to know about the game. But to get a little bit more insight, I wanted to offer some different voices here, so that's why I'm bringing in Chris. So, Chris, I mean, when you look at this team on paper, I mean, it's nothing to really get all excited about. I mean, Houston's defense is atrocious. They're toward the bottom of the league in every statistical category possible. Their special teams really isn't even that good. They're 4 of 8 on field goal attempts this year. And if you're West Virginia, you're Jeff Kuntz, you're thinking, hey, that's what we like to hear since we just blocked 2 field goals 2 weeks ago. And, you know, offensively, they have struggled to get the ground game going. They run it okay, but they just don't get enough yardage. They really lean on the pass. But, I mean, if there's any area of concern with this team, if you're West Virginia going into this and you watch the tape, is there anything that just stands out and you're like, that could be a problem?
They're skill guys. All their skill position players. They're all young. They kind of, on paper, they kind of remind you of West Virginia a little bit with their youth in the skill position. They've obviously production-wise have done a lot better than West Virginia. Sam Brown, former Mountaineer, actually leads the league on receiving yards. So really, their struggles have been defensively. They haven't been probably consistent on offense as Dana would like, and that's really youth. They have a strong offensive line, a senior-led offensive line. Both the captains on offense are on the offensive line. So, again, a lot like West Virginia, they lean on that offensive line to kind of help them out in the passing game, running game. Running game hasn't been bad, but they've just had to play from behind a lot. Their defense has been atrocious. Again, you can put some of that to use. They have some good defensive linemen. His name escapes me, but he's third in sacks right now.
Caesar.
Defense, Caesar, yes, he's third in the conference right now in sacks, and he's only down, I think, from a half a sack from the leading spot. So they have some guys, and really, if you kind of look at the future, Houston, Dana could really have a good team for next year because they bring a lot of these guys back. So I think it's a team that's definitely dangerous as the team goes along. We've seen Dana have teams that struggled early in the year, and then they caught on both sides of the football. So I know on paper this is supposed to be a gimme game per se, but it's far from a gimme. And as good
Yeah.
as West Virginia defense has played, this Dana's a really good offensive coordinator, great offensive mind, and he's going to scheme some things up for this defense. So I think it's scary. And you got Donovan Smith. That's back there. He can break tackles. He's going to get outside the pocket. He's going to make plays. So containing him is going to be key. And, if you get those defensive backs looking in the backfield with the skill set that these receivers have, it could be a long day for the defense.
And you're giving Dana a little extra time to prepare for this one, too, because they had the same situation where they played on Saturday. They had last week off. It's kind of a half a bye week. And I don't know. I kind of like this in a way because you get 10 days to prepare for your next game and then you play and then you have like another 9 or 10 days to prepare for your next game. So it's kind of like 2 half buys. You're not getting that full week, but I think it works in both favors because you're able to get a lot of rest from that first game that you played going into the bye week, and then you get time to recover too afterwards. And we all know West Virginia needs it. They're banged up. They've got some guys that are still questionable for this game. Tomas Remak is out. Left guard, Wyatt Milam, the left tackle, is questionable. Aubrey Burks is questionable. So they've got some guys that they're dealing with some injuries that could use those couple of extra days before Thursday. So to me, I think, and I expressed this on the game day show, like the money downs, they're always important, right? Like you have to win third and fourth downs. It's a crucial part of the game. But for these two, or for this game in particular, like it's like good on good, bad on bad. You look at West Virginia, they're number one in the Big 12 in third down defense. And I'm pretty sure it's by a wide margin. They're like way up there. I think it's like 25 or 26% they're holding teams to. Houston's offense is fifth in third down offense. Doesn't surprise me with Dana. You flip it over to the other side, West Virginia's offense is 13th in third downs. Houston's defense is 11th in third down defense. So something's got to give on either side of the ball. If you had to put your money on, and we're not getting into our best bet segment yet, and I don't know that you want us to, but if you had to put your money on it, who comes out on top in terms of these money down situations? And I also note Houston has allowed 7 first downs on 8 fourth down attempts.
Yeah, you like West Virginia chances in that if they can get it in manageable situations, especially if it's third and short, fourth and short, where they can just run the ball and get behind that offensive line. Um, Definitely like their chances better. But again, if you kind of look at it to the other side, defensively, I don't think they did play Texas Tech, TCU, both great passing games when they played them. But kind of when you're looking at it now, Houston's still up there at the top. So I think really it's just going to come down, typical football game. It is going to come down defensive stops. But little concerned with West Virginia defense. I don't think they've really seen a passing game like this. I don't think they've had a group of receivers as talented as this thus far. Well, within the conference, I should say. Penn State, obviously, uh,
Yeah.
very talented passing game. That was their first game of the season. Obviously, West Virginia's defense, first game of the season. But I'm really just concerned with the Houston offense. If they can put together 4 quarters, um, man, they can score 50 even on this West Virginia defense. They're really good. They've just lacked consistency. It's something that, every team struggles with putting 4 quarters of the game. But with Houston, I think the biggest worry with their offense is three possessions in their first 3 possessions could be touchdowns. And West Virginia playing behind from that far back could be dangerous. All of a sudden, they're uncomfortable. They're maybe pushing, trying to do something outside their comfort zone a little bit. So I think, really for West Virginia defense, it's about starting fast. They
Absolutely.
haven't started fast. That's been a key for them this off week was getting a better start, not waiting to get your feet wet. Don't miss the tackles early. Put pressure on them early. Don't let them get comfortable because if you let an offense like Houston get comfortable, like I said, it could be a long night. But again, they have not been consistent. If they're good in the first, second quarter, they're probably not going to be good in the second half. And West Virginia defense has been great in the second half this season. So for them, particularly, they have to get off to a fast start and don't let a bunch of points happen at first because West Virginia has not put up a lot of points thus far. And that's really going to, trying to play ball control if you're down 21 or 17 nothing. It's going to make for a long grind because all of a sudden, these guys that have made big plays over the top, they don't need maybe one more for 3 more quarters or 2.5 more quarters, and the game's over.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds cliche about the fast start. I mean, you want that every week, but I mean, when you got a team like this that their backs are on the ropes, like they're ready to come out swinging. They cannot afford to drop to 2-4, and more importantly, 0-3. Well, I would say probably more importantly, 2-4, because then they're going to have to win 4 of their last 6 games to get in bowl to get the bowl eligibility. So, like that's a tough thing to do, especially when they've got the schedule that they've got the rest of the way out. So they're ready for this. Dana's going to be motivated for this, as he is always, but it's going to have a little extra edge to this game, obviously, for certain obvious reasons. And same thing with Sam Brown, Tony Mathis, some of those other guys. And they're going to be ready for this. It's a Thursday night game. This is going to be a chance for them to showcase on the national stage where there's not a lot of eyes on other games that they're ready, that they have arrived at the Big 12. And, even after a slow start, that they're able to hang in and compete in the Big 12. So this is a big opportunity for them. You've got to put that seed of doubt. I learned this little phrase from Frank Reich, and I love it. The seed of doubt. If you put that seed of doubt in the opponent's mind, especially in this game, a team that's already kind of doubting where they're at right now and how they can win games. If you put that seed of doubt in their mind early, it could go a long way. So a fast start is definitely possible. To the third down thing, though, it's not like West Virginia is getting in a ton of third and longs. Like they're not getting sacked a whole lot. They're not, wasting downs on first and second by throwing the ball away. Obviously, they're running a ton. So they're getting to third and manageables. What have you noticed about that third down and medium, third and short that has led to so many struggles?
Oh, really? It's keying on the running game, making their keys. That we've talked about needing playmakers on the outside, and that's really where they've struggled. They've gotten some help from Cole Taylor, but defenses have noticed it. So they've got to get some play on the outside. And really, it's just making guys miss. Make one
Which
guy
they
miss,
have not done all year.
break one tackle, and you haven't really seen as much quick passes to the outside because of it. Because if you can't break a tackle, that play doesn't do you any good. So really, that's what it is. The guys just have to make plays. They have to break tackles. Running backs have done pretty good. Not spectacular with it, but they've been pretty good. C.J. Donaldson, he's usually that's the first guy gets through the first arm tackle, but when they're keen on him and they hand it in, they just bring more guys and they are available to block. And at that point, you can only really do so much. So it's really on first, second downs, making guys miss, making the defense have to account for the quick passing game on the outside, so they can't really just key in on the inside blocks. Um, and really, defenses are too fast to do any like quick pitch or try to really let it go off the outside. They've tried really anything they can in their running game. So really, you just got to find something on the outside. On first, second down, if you can get a playmaker to do something in the passing game, just like you said, the seed of doubt on third and short, all of a sudden they have to look over to see who's in the
Yeah.
slot, see who's out there. If a guy goes out there in a block in motion, they have to account for it all of a sudden. They can't just key on CJ. So really, it's about first and second down for this, and same story we've had for years. Somebody on the outside has got to step up and start making plays. And that's really the key for this offense. Chad Scott talked about it this week. Just got to pass and catch. It's just a pass and catch. Sometimes it gets in your mind and you start pressing too much, just like in anything else. And that's really what they need to do. Just relax, run the play, bring the ball in, make the first guy miss the best you can, and just get upfield. I think that really with these receivers is a touch on the legs and they're down. And I think that's probably the more frustrated person than that is Mike Joseph. They work they work on leg strength all off season, so they have got to find ways to break tackles, get those extra yards from the receiving core. And that, we talked about it preseason and we'll continue to talk about it. It'll help the running game if they can just open up the passing game a little bit. And that's really just all dependent on the receivers at this point. Because, I mean, really, if you go back and look at the play calling, they've given them multiple opportunities to make plays. And after a while, you just have to go with your bread and butter.
Yeah.
But when they got 10 or 11 guys keen on your bread and butter, someone else is going to have to step up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think sometimes too we overcomplicate football, and players do it too. Like they feel like they have to have 50 tools in their belt, and really you only need a couple. As long as you can hone in on those two or three moves. If you're a receiver, find ways to get separation. What's your release look like? You don't have to have 100 different releases. If you have 100 different releases, the odds are 98 of them aren't going to be that good anyway. If you get one or two that work and you can find a way to get open earlier in routes, which this receiving group needs to do, then you're going to start having more success in the pass game because you're not thinking as much. And again, seeded out, the receivers seems like they have a little bit of that right now. And I think too, CJ Donaldson and this rushing attack and the offensive line, you combine all those guys. Yes, this is what they've leaned on in the first 5 games of the season, but I would guarantee you CJ and that offensive line, the rest of that running back room, they'd be the first to tell you they have not done enough to this point. And I think they have not lived up to the expectations going into the season. Now, part of that, obviously, is all these defenses know what West Virginia wants to do. The passing game has not been existent. So when you don't have a passing game, everyone's going to know what you're doing. We all understand that. But still, I think there's some plays out there that have not been made that could have been made in the run game. Is that something that you've seen too?
Yeah, and I mean, still got to remember it's only CJ's second year ever playing running back, and he's
Yeah.
doing it at the highest in the
He's
college level. So
and he's unfamiliar territory too, because this is about how many carries he had all of last year. So he's about to
yeah,
go into a whole nother realm.
and he's also had the playbook expanded on him. So a lot of it's just mental. He's just overthinking it, maybe being a little too patient with his offensive line. He just got to hit the holes. There's been plenty of plays for him to hit. TCU third and goal. He cut it back inside, right into the teeth of the defense. All you
He
had to
had
do
he
is
had
keep
the end
running
zone.
straight.
He had the end zone.
All you had to do is keep running straight, or just even go a little bit to the left. So he's just overthinking it. He has a lot of trust in his offensive line, as he should. But if you set too long in the backfield and you don't hit that gap immediately, it doesn't matter how good your offensive line is because these defenses are quick, they're fast. A lot of these Big 12 defense have NFL talent up front, but on all three levels. Especially, this is a really good safety league as well. So they're going to come up and make plays, and that's really all that's really has happened. I think he's overly patient. He's thinking too much. Again, they've thrown a lot more at him this season, so Chad Scott said, this bye week was really beneficial for him, and I think for him, it was just kind of reset. Let me get back to what I know what to do, and we'll see if it pays off. And that's just a kid that he can make plays, and the opportunities are there. And I think he kind of sees it, recognizes it, been beat up a little bit since Penn State. Everyone's keyed on him, so we'll see how he manages the back half of the season. Gene White, I thought has done a pretty good job of hitting the holes quickly, but again they've kind of keyed on him. But he's gotten the yards that's been given to him, and he's close. He's really close to kind of breaking one there. So kind of see the back half of the season. You lose Remack, but Neil Brown and Moore have done a really good job building this offensive line. We've talked about it since their arrival. This is a young offensive line. I had to say many times, look what Rick Trickett did at West Virginia. It took a while. Look when he went to Florida State when they were getting those recruits. It took 4 or 5 years. So we're in that fifth year, and you're starting to see the fruits of their labor with that offensive line. They're they can probably make an argument that they're three deep right now along that offensive line. It's not something that you want to depend on that three deep, but right now I think they feel really good. Even going forward, when you miss a guy, you don't want to miss Frazier, Millam, because you're not going to just replace those guys. Those guys are all Americans, but they've got some depth, and I don't think they're overly concerned at this moment. But with the injuries piling up all over on both sides of the ball, you
Yeah.
can't really afford to continue to lose guys. But that offensive line has been pretty stout.
And the thing with the bye week too that I think a lot of people overlook, like yes, it's always a time for Mark if you point that as well, maybe that's when things turn if you improve offensively or defensively. And I think people just think because they have more time to game plan. But it's so much deeper than that. Like when you go back to the offseason and we're talking to these coaches and all their answers are, well, we'll find out when we play somebody. We don't really know what we are. We don't know if our offense is good or our defense is bad. We have no idea until we go up and line up against somebody else that's not ourselves. Well, now they've done that 5 times. Now they know what works, what doesn't work. So now they spent those last 10 to 12 days kind of understanding, really going deep into the film of what works, what doesn't, what they need to do to make things work. And I think that's why we'll probably see a little bit sharper of a product offensively than we've seen in the first 5 weeks. We would imagine. Plus, like I've hammered 100 times on these shows, Garrett Green did not play that much football in the first month of the season. Like he had one full game going into the what was it, the TCU game or Texas Tech game? I can't even remember now. The TCU game. Yeah, TCU game because he didn't play Texas Tech. So I think you have to keep that in mind too. He's still trying to get back. He's 100% now. Having that extra time to stay off that foot or that ankle, whatever it was that was bothering him, this could not have come at a better time. The bye week, obviously, for very very many reasons. But we'll see how they do. Last thing before we get out of here, since we already talked about West Virginia's, the third downs are key, the fast start, the receivers got to make plays, run game's got to step up a little bit. If we flip it over to Houston, what's the biggest thing they have to do if they want to come away with this game?
Uh, I want to say force Garrett Green to beat you with his arm, and that's probably is the game plan. You haven't seen them really be effective in the past game, really move the ball. I mean, I think was it the TCU game they went right down the field in the past game, so they've shown that they can do it, but they haven't been consistent with it. You just mentioned that Garrett Green only played one full game, and when you have a new group of receivers, they haven't been on the same page. But with this bye week, maybe they have gotten on the same page a little bit, understanding how defenses are going to, defend the pass, defend the run. Maybe they've been able to work it. I thought offensively they've done a good job building off their success. So I think for Houston, prove it.
Yeah,
Just like West Virginia went into Penn State with Drew Allard. Well, prove that you can beat us with your arm. He did. They could probably go back and do the same, revisit that game plan a little bit. And if they played tomorrow, it probably wouldn't be as bad because they've improved quite a bit. But if you're Houston, just prove it. Let's see. Let's stack the box. Let's see what you can do. Keep Garrett in the pocket and see what happens. And if I'm flip it for the offense, I would see how much success I could have in the running game. They have three running backs. Tony Mathis is third on their depth chart. They've had
Yeah.
the freshman running back leads them. So I think you want to try to wear on that defense a little bit. It's going to be a little hotter than West Virginia's used to. They were just at TCU a couple weeks. Didn't really have a lot of cramping with West Virginia. It's not supposed to be specific, extremely hot at that time. I think the low is 70 there for Thursday night. So I would try to see if they can't. That offensive line is really good for Houston as well. So if they can try to get some success in the running game, get Donovan Smith outside the pocket a little bit, I think you could put that West Virginia defense on its heels. They've been on their heels early and kind of settled in, but again, if Houston get off to a fast start offensively, that was kind of Dana's philosophy with that air raid to put pressure
Yeah.
on their offense by putting up a bunch of points. And if you're putting up a bunch of points against that West Virginia uh, offense that hasn't put up a lot of points, I know Houston's defense is bad. Maybe it's a confidence booster the offense needs, but I don't think that's a situation if you want West Virginia. So I'm sure their goal, 100% start fast, is go score on the touchdowns in the first three possessions, and they got a good chance to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, even if they do improve to some degree, like you're not expecting this team to just make leaps and bounds offensively. Like they're still probably going to be a little handicapped offensively just because of what exists in the receiver room from a playmaking standpoint. So it's not like they're going to be elite. So this is still a team that is not really built to battle back from 2 or 3 scores down in the second half. Now, can they? Maybe. I think they did a good job of kind of keeping things together against TCU and did enough to find a way to win. And like Neil Brown said, it's like the NCAA tournament right now. It's survive and advance, survive and advance, survive and advance. And
Doesn't
they're
matter how you win as long as you win.
exactly. No one talks about how you get to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, but they know if you made it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's all that matters. You just got to find a way to win, and that's exactly what they've done. I think with that TCU game, what you liked was when they needed a score in the second half, they went and got a score, and I think
yeah,
that's something that you know having their backs against the wall and kind of playing fast, I think that bodes well for them. You kind of wish they could get the mindset that they're down 14-0 to start the game, and maybe that kind of kicks them into gear a little faster. But that's why you play the game. Things, it's a chess match throughout the night, and it's good to see them score when it needed, but you want to see them take that next step. When they're up three, they're up seven, not have to rely on the defense. Go put the game away, put the pressure on their offense to have to make plays. That's really the next step they need to take. And I mean, really, the yards will start coming when you do that because it's not that they're doing the play calls conservative. It's the same plays. They're just not executing. And of course, they've got 11 guys on the other side trying to get off the field to give their offense a chance. So that's really where they need to elevate this week. They need to not win by possession. This is a game they need to go win by 2 or 3 possessions because this is a bad Houston team, and really you can play keep away. And we've seen Dana when things are struggling offensively, they'll be off the field in 30 seconds. So you can really wear that defense down and really play ball control the rest of the game. So if you can do that early, you don't necessarily have to go put points on the board early, but if you win that field position battle early, they always have to start back at their own 20, their own 10, and they're continuing to have to just maybe pick up one first down on the field for a minute. All of a sudden, like you're winning that early, and we saw it when he was here when things weren't clicking. It got bad quickly because the defense was out there for 40, 50 minutes a game, and it just kind of is what it is. So I don't know if the defense is up to that challenge early. We haven't seen it, and that's really it. For me this week, it's all about starting fast defensively and being competent enough offensively to make them drive the length of the field.
yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the head. I mean, and I think too, like you win this game. I'm not saying it's going to start getting everyone's attention because it's Houston, but these are the types of games if you want to be in the picture late November, you have to win. Like
Yeah.
you can't lose these types of games even if it's on the road on a Thursday night and it's a blackout. Who cares about all that crap? Like, it doesn't matter. You've got to be able to find a way to win these games against the bottom half of the league teams, or the so-called perceived bottom half of the league teams, and
I
maybe
don't
even do
expect
so
the crowd
comfortably.
to be that big of a factor.
It
They
should,
had
and honestly, if it is, or if it's a sellout crowd, I mean, how many sold out crowds have West Virginia played in front of this year and played on the road? I mean, they played at Happy Valley. I mean, TCU's
I
a
would
tough
say Penn
environment.
State kind of got them ready for the year.
Yeah,
That
I
was a
mean,
really, really tough environment on the first game year, and they managed that really
yeah.
well. So I don't, and that's what I'm saying. I don't even think Houston's going to bring, if West Virginia was ranked, they'd probably bring a little bit bigger crowd. But Thursday night in Houston,
I
it's
mean,
not, they're
there are tickets out
struggling.
there going for $1, I believe. I
Yeah,
think I saw
so
on
they're
social
two
media.
and three right now. They're not real happy. I
Yeah,
know I said it here. I know I said it here enough when Dana was here, but be patient with Dana because I'm looking at that roster. All those guys that are
there's
making
talent
plays,
there.
they're sophomores. They're all
Yeah,
sophomores and freshmen. So give him. I know he's had time, but hey, we had to watch the Big 12 depth and said it in the preseason. Look, Big 12 depth matters, and you're seeing all these new teams struggle. So
yeah, absolutely. And it is a big transition to go from where they were in the American to the Big 12. So it's almost like you got to give him another little grace period here to really build this thing
pretty
up.
much.
So
I don't know if they're going to allow it at this point. They're pretty upset, and I haven't really seen the UCF base. BYU was all off last week, and they're the only ones I believe with a win, right, in the Big 12. BYU, and got it against Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah. So
So
no
no
new Big
legacy
12
wins,
wins yet.
no legacy wins for the newcomers. So
Yeah, they're
pretty
finding out how
interesting
tough life
considering
is.
they were all picked ahead of West Virginia. And who could have saw that the newcomers would struggle? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We've only talked about it all off season,
We only had to deal with it for the
but
first 3 years being in the Big 12. So yeah.
so anyways, that's going to put a wrap on it for us here today. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Between the Years. We ask that you please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. Drop some comments and give us a like as well. Follow us on X at Mountaineers Now. Also, Chris is at WV Hallbilly. I'm at Callihan_. And we'll be back. I'll be back with Gene on Thursday night for the Mountaineers Now post-game show. We'll recap everything that happened down there at the Deck U Stadium between the Houston. I almost said the Houston Mountaineers. Oh my goodness! Hey, that's when you have so much going back
They
and
got
forth
four of
between
them.
these two. Yeah, I
They
mean,
got four for them.
jeez. But anyway, that's what happens on a short week.
Houston Couganeers, is that what they were?
Houston Couganeers. So it's a short week. What do you expect? We're trying to cram all this stuff in, all this content in here in a short week, but we're going to get it done for you. So Mountaineers Now post-game show Thursday night, Eugene and myself, and we'll see you guys then. Take care.